Hey guys, Big Tony here. Today we have another Totemic Resto Shaman build overview. We have this video because we did pretty well on the last build overview. 10 likes is usually what I strive for every upload. And with that video, we got over that. So we have this video. And this build is pretty amazing. So where does the strength of this build come from? It actually comes from your Surging Totem. We have a lot of talents that will increase the potency of our Surging Totem healing, especially during Ascendance, and this gives us really powerful throughput healing. Actual response healing by combining it with our Ascendance. It actually fills the gap of what Totemic lacks, which is, instant throughput healing. This one gives us some pretty good throughput healing. So where and when are we going to use this build? It's pretty simple, and really, it's kind of sad as well. You're really only going to run this build on maps like Eyes of Storm and Silver Shard Mines. They are close quarters fights, and you may think, well, this battleground has close quarters fights. No, these two are the only maps that actually have close quarters fights where everybody's going to be in the exact same place. So you would kind of think like maybe Mogu could work. There's a lot of pinches in Mogu that could work with this build. Yeah, you're kind of right, but it won't compete with this build on these two maps. Anything else besides these two maps, this build's going to fall off really hard because the main healing comes from Surging Totem. And in these maps, it's literally impossible for you to walk on my Surging Totem. Yes, finally. I wish there was a way that I could force people to stay on my Surging Totem. If there was an ability like that that would pull my team into the Surging Totem, hell, I'd run this build forever. But that's not the case. Everybody walks out of it. That's why any other map besides these two maps falls off really hard. So, how does this build work? Well, we have a lot of talents. Oversurge is the main one. Surging Totem heals for 150% more during Ascendance. This is the big winner. Pulse Capacitator increases Surging Totem healing by 25%. And then Rain Dance, which is a PvP talent, increases Surging Totem healing by 30% and makes it cost 45% less mana. So by default, we have 55% increased healing with our Surging Totem. That's pretty good. But with Oversurge, we have not 100, it's way more than 100, 205% extra healing on our healing rain during Ascendance. So, go over here. This is going to be ticking for, on average, 600k. 600k on a ground type heal. A ground-based heal. So, make sure we are in combat, Surging Totem, Ascendance, and we're going to get some pretty gnarly healing. I mean, you see here, crit for 985k, 964k, ticking for 638k on the dot. I mean, it's just so much healing. It's so much healing for a ground-based heal. These aren't just regular hots, that I'm applying to this guy and that guy. This is a ground-based heal. So everybody in my healing rain is going to be getting all that juicy 600ks and 900ks. Pretty amazing. At least until it hits the total cap, then it'll diminish. But we see here in this screenshot of how much my healing range is doing in an RPG. It's almost my top healing. Going over the rest of the build, in terms of other talents, Totemic Coordination is still good. Chain Heal is still a really high amount of your healing, especially combined with Ancestral Reach, with the extra bounce funnels into Whirling Elements to ensure my Earth Whirling Elements buff hits 4 targets instead of 3, which has result into more Earth Living healing. Oversized Totems, over Swift Recall, don't have to explain why. This is much better. It's PvP talent versus PvE talent. Pretty standard. Coming into your actual Resto Shaman tree, we have Overflowing Shores. I like the extra 2 yards. I think it's pretty cool. Extra 2 yards on my Surging Totem. Again, I need people to stay in my Surging Totem, and an extra 2 yards helps that a little bit more. If you feel like this doesn't impact at all, or it just doesn't really, matter to you, you don't really notice it, you can take that out. It's fine. I just like having the extra 2 yards. That's just me. Coming down here, Current Control over Tide Turner. You guys know how I feel about Current Control. I love it for RBGs. Tide Turner, I love it for arenas. That's the main difference between these two. The availability of Healing Tide, especially in combination of one of these two talents, is really nice for RBGs. And it actually pushes my Healing Tide up into like my third, even sometimes second breakdown, just because of how often it's available. So, pretty nice. Mana Tide versus Spirit Walker Cycle Totem, both of these are great. You can run either or. Mana Tide gets a lot more play nowadays because of how bad your mana is. You see a lot of Resto Shamans running mana gems. You see a lot of them running Mana Tide. And the reason for this is because, look at this abomination. In PvP combat, I have 39,000 mana regen. And in PvP history, historically in PvP, this is fact. This is non-debatable. This is how it is. Any healer that has less than 50,000 mana in PvP is going to be bad. That's just how it is. And now the Resto Shaman has that very weak mana, and also more problems on top of that. It's pretty bad. It's fallen off the meta pretty hard. I don't even think it was meta before. It just like it had some bit of uniqueness, but I don't think it was meta. So that's why a lot of Resto Shamans run mana gems, and Mana Tide obviously just helps a little bit. We can go over here, spend a little bit of mana. Make sure I'm in combat though, so I'm not just regenerating out of PvP combat. But let's just spend a little bit of mana. Do I actually have Mana Tide selected? I do. Spend a little bit of mana here. Probably drop down to 70%. And we can Mana Tide. And we can see here, 119,000 MP5S. Pretty cool. So I started off at like, what, 68%? Now I have 77%. So that's like, what, about 10% mana back, or 8% mana, 9% mana back every 1.4 minutes. That's okay. It's really nice. Of course, it affects your other allies. It's just extra mana regen. You can't go wrong with that. In combination with Resurgence and Mana Spring, you need all the mana you can get. Spirit Walker Title Totem is great for Totemic. As I said before, Totemic is all about the HPS, all about the free healing. So you really don't have any actual instant reactive healing. Nothing with power. And even though your casted heals don't really do a whole lot as Totemic, just being able to have them be instant cast heals that heal more than 1 million or 1.5 million, aka with Riptides, it's still nice to have. Have them be instant, have them reduce mana cost. Really nice to have for Totemic. So either one of these talents is amazing. You can run either or. Does not matter which one you run. I personally don't run Mana Tide as much anymore, simply because with this build specifically, I have Rain Dance. And Rain Dance helps my mana so much. That's why I don't run it for this build specifically. And I take Spirit Walker Title Totem. Unless I have other healers that, my other healers have bad mana, if that's just the design as their spec, then yeah, I will run Mana Tide. But other than that, I'll stick with Spirit Walker Title Totem. Coming down here, we have Short Ascendance. Obviously, we need Ascendance back on. we need to get Ascendance back as quickly as possible, and First Ascendant helps out a lot. Therazanes or Reactive Warding. I like Therazanes more for RBGs and Battlegrounds, simply because not having to manage another button, which is Urshield, is really nice, and especially because of how many times I'm swapping my Urshield in an RBG setting. It's more than normal, because there's so many people that can get swapped to, especially with, these maps that you're playing this Healing Ring build on, either Storm and Surgeon Totem. Everyone can get cleaved down, and everyone can get swapped to. Everyone's a potential swap to target in these maps, even me. So that's why I like Therazane's Resilience, because I'm going to lose a lot of that reactive warding healing if I'm swapping my Urshield a bit more around. So that's why I like it. For Blitz, however, I do like reactive warding. So there's that. There is that. Downpour. I swapped this point between Downpour, Master, and Improved Earthling Weapon. I usually keep it in Downpour for most of the time. It just feels pretty nice to have. I don't think it's that strong, though. I think that first off, it's not strong enough to be a capstone in talents, but that's not even the worst part. It's just like, it just doesn't really do a whole lot of healing. It's not as strong as I really want it to be. Barely pulls over 1 million. I mean, it heals for about the same as like a Riptide, which is okay, I guess. And then increases everybody's max HP by 10% for every person who heals. It's okay. I don't think it's amazing, though. So you say there, crit for 2.6. Not too bad. But I don't think it's as strong as it needs to be. I personally wish it was a passive skill, which, I mean, it pretty much is, but an actual passive skill where whenever I cast my Surgeon Totem, it'll cast Downpour, and whenever it fades away, it'll cast it again. But, I mean, it is cool for how it is right now. It's an extra button to press. And as Totemic, you really don't have a lot of buttons to press. You're simply just spamming your Riptides and then getting Tenetium Totems down along with Shooting Totem, and that's really it. And that's why you're casting so much Lava Burst now, because you really don't have anything else to cast. You're kind of just waiting for stuff to come back off cooldown. So, having the extra button to press through your Surging Totem feels pretty nice. Other than that, though, Master of the Elements is really great, as I just said. Because you're Totemic, you're able to cast more skills. That's actually why Storm Condo is actually pretty good for Totemic. It's because you're actually able to cast damage, Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt. Building up Master of the Elements stacks is pretty great. You're going to get extra healing by having your Healing Surge do 30% or 60% more healing through Master of the Elements. So that's pretty cool. You may think that it might be pretty sketchy to run that on like these close quarters maps. It's really not. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? They kick you on Lava Burst? Oh crap, I kicked the Shaman on Lava Burst. Cool, I locked him out of his fire school. Wow, that you wasted a kick on Lava Burst. You could have wasted a kick on literally anything else and it would have been more impactful. But Lava Burst from Resto Shaman, yeah, that's just not going to be good. You can build up your Master Elements buffs here. Pretty cool. Get your buffs there. Jordan Totem. Make sure I'm in PvP combat. Got a nice big old Healing Surge out here. Crit for 5 milli. It's also going to cleave due to my Whirling Elements buff. Water. So it's a nice little bit of talent. And then improved Earth-Living Weapon is actually pretty good as well. Because Earth-Living Weapon is much higher in your Totemic breakdown than Farseer. Because you have Whirling Elements Earth. And because you have Ancestral Reach bouncing to additional target. You're going to get more healing through improved Earth-Living Weapon. Through 150% additional benefit from Mastery. So, it's a lot of Earth-Living healing. Also, because you can combine this too with your... Oh, I don't want to get rid of that. With your Unleashed Life. That's actually really why I love Unleashed Life for Totemic. It's because you can combine it with more skills than you would Farseer. Farseer, you're naturally combining it with your Riptide or your Healing Wave. This one, you can combine it with your Downpour if you're running it, your Chain Heal. So I come over here, and... come over here, make sure my Earth-Living Weapon is applied. So by default, my Earth-Living Weapon gets applied to 4 targets due to Ancestral Reach. With Unleashed Life Empowerment, it increased the healing of my Chain Heal by 15%, and have it bounce to 1 additional target. If anything, I wish it was 2 additional targets, but, you know, can't have it all. So in total, I'm going to have my Earth-Living Weapon on 5 targets. That's a lot of healing. Let's go over here. Unleashed Life, hopefully these actually hit all the targets. So you see here, Unleashed Life, Earth-Living, 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 Earth-Living. All these targets, even me as well, all these targets have Earth-Living Weapon on them. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. It's a lot of healing. 5 targets had Earth-Living Weapon on them. And so you're just going to get a lot of, I don't know why it's not tracking here, but you're just going to get a lot of Earth-Living Weapon healing. So I don't know why I didn't track there. But you're just going to get a lot of Earth-Living Weapon healing. An Earth-Living Weapon, on average, with Totemic, ticks for about, like, 280 to 300k. So on 5 targets, that's a lot of HPS. So all 3 of these talent points are pretty good, in my opinion. So in terms of your rotation, it doesn't really change all too much from... It doesn't change at all, really, from your other build, your Chain Heal build. You're simply just pressing Riptide. I usually like to get my Surging Totem down before I cast the Tenetium Totem. This is to obviously benefit the Whirling Elements Earth buff. So, it's just to min-max the healing I have. I don't like to press Surging Totem, or Tenetium Totem and then Surging Totem, because then, you know, my Earth buff isn't consumed, and I gotta either cast a Chain Heal, or just wait until I get another Tenetium Totem back. It's all wonky. I just like to get my Surging Totem down first, and then cast my Tenetium Totem. But that's pretty much your entire rotation. You're simply just Riptiding, Surging Toteming, and then Tenetium Toteming. That's literally it. Doesn't change quite literally at all. Now, the unique thing with Unleashed Life, like I said previous to this, is that you can combine it with more stuff compared to Farseer. Farseer is just Healing Wave and Riptide. With this, you can combine it with more stuff. You can combine it with your Riptide. You can combine it with your Chain Heal. You can combine it with your Downpour. So, Downpour is pretty nice. As I said before, its healing could be a lot better, but it heals a lot of people. It heals 5 targets, and with your Unleashed Life Empowerment, it heals 7 targets. So you see here, Unleash Life, we're going to have Downpour heal all 7 of us right here. And so we all have that healing, and we all have 10% increased max HP. So there is some benefit into Unleash Lifing your Downpour. Heal more targets, everybody gets the 10% max HP. Pretty nice. But that's really all your rotation is. It's just simply waiting for skills to come back off cooldown. And just following the natural order of Riptiding, Surging Toteming, getting a Condition Totem down, Unleash Lifing, literally whatever you want. It could be a Riptide, it could be a Downpour, it could be a Chain Heal. You're just following the natural order, and you'll get everything working with each other, just as how Totemic naturally does. So that's the build. Hopefully you all enjoy, and if you want to see more videos like this on different healers, and you know what to do, gotta leave a like button down below. And if you really did enjoy this video, you gotta make sure to click the link in the description, as it does take you to a playlist of all my Resto Shaman content.